Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second ever college counseling webinar. It's our hope that this new way of sharing information will engage a wider audience of parents and students, as we often see low attendance at our evening programs, and we know how busy everyone's schedules are. So hopefully this first webinar for you will be an enjoyable experience. We offered our first webinar last spring to the class of 2019, and the parents were huge fans. And so we're offering it a little bit earlier this year, especially to cover our youth science program. So we hope you'll sit back and relax. First, a little bit of housekeeping. You should see a Q&A box or a chat box on your screen. You all should be muted so you can chat amongst yourselves at home and not feel like anyone else is hearing you. But you should see a Q&A or a chat box, and if you want to type in any questions throughout the webinar, you're welcome to do that. Just know that I will answer any questions at the end. I'm pretty good at multitasking, but that might overwhelm me a little bit. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in there, and just know that I will cover any that pop up in that box once we're finished up here. If at any time you need to log out of the presentation, you're welcome to do so. I will have a log of how long people stayed in, but I promise I won't call anyone out. And I do intend for it to last about 30 to 45 minutes. I will also share a recording of the webinar either tomorrow or Wednesday. So if you do have to leave, you'll have a full recording of this this week. And we'll post that probably on the AP Wire as well. So our ultimate goal in college counseling at Augusta Prep is to help students find a great college fit. But I also think that one of the most important roles that we can play is ensuring peace in the process. This can all be really overwhelming, as you know, and that's why we aim to break it down a little college admissions play-by-play, with the hope that focusing on the right things at the right time will ensure that all students are charged, prepared, and ready to apply to colleges in the fall of senior year. So speaking of a little housekeeping, I'm going to borrow an education as a house metaphor from Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy. I had the privilege of seeing him speak at a national conference a couple of years ago, and he equated student proficiency in math to the foundation of a house. He said that if you're building a house and the inspector comes to survey the foundation and finds weaknesses or cracks, you won't keep building your house. You will fix the foundation. So let's consider high school, specifically the preparation that comes from being a student at Augusta Prep, and the college admissions process in the same way. Ninth grade is building the core foundation, transitioning to the rigor and demands of high school and focusing on academic coursework. That is the best way to spend the freshman year, forming healthy habits. Most seniors can look back on freshman year, no matter their grades, if they were good or they were bad, and they'll say that they are a better, more prepared student after evolving through the first 2 years of high school. In the sophomore year, college counselors creep into students' lives just a little bit more, and that's the goal of tonight, to help you anticipate our involvement and engage with our student and parent programming as we begin to dive deeper into the college admissions process. We'll start to help construct the walls of this house. Our main objective tonight is to give you an overview of youth science and the PSAT 10, which are the pillars that the College Counseling Office builds with the sophomore class. As juniors, students will begin to settle into academic life, see more programming through monthly college counseling seminars, which we use to deconstruct the college application process. They'll begin taking the SAT and ACT and essentially put the roof on the house. They're going to wrap up their junior year coursework, which will be the last grades that colleges are going to see prior to their application. Ultimately, these 4 years of building will culminate in the fall of senior year. And while it's hard not to jump ahead and want to dive in now, it's important for our students' well-being to take it step by step. So here's an overview of some of the programming that happens between now and January of next year. We'll talk about U-Science tonight, as well as the PSAT 10. In the fall of junior year, the juniors will go on a college tour as their class retreat. We'll have monthly college counseling seminars. They will take the PSAT, which is the qualifying test for the National Merit Scholarship, in October of junior year. There will be a junior college kickoff in January of junior year to go over the whole process. College counseling newsletters will come to you monthly. Now you should be receiving them just every few months. So if you haven't received any yet, please be sure to let me know so I can be sure that you are on the distribution list. And also college visits to prep. Tomorrow, Savannah College of Art and Design will visit at lunch, and we've had several colleges visit over the last couple of months. I encourage all students to come to those meetings, even if they aren't interested and even if they don't know what to say, because it's an important way for them to engage and learn the lingo of the college admissions process and perhaps learn a little bit about a school that they may have never known about before. Also, I encourage you to follow us on Twitter, as well as on the Augusta Prep website under College Counseling. You can find our Google Calendar, which will have a comprehensive list of all events, college visits, and it is live and regularly updated. Here's a brief timeline of the next year of your lives. The top denotes recommended testing for sophomores and juniors. We will delve deeper into SAT and ACT testing plans in the fall of junior year. In fact, I just had a seminar with our junior class this past Thursday. But it is important for you to know that the recommended timeline to begin the actual SAT and ACT is the spring semester of junior year. The bottom of the timeline denotes some of our programming for the class of 2020. These usually take place throughout the first couple of months of the fall semester, and we keep them up to date on our college counseling calendar online. Next fall, juniors will head out on the college tour with the list of schools to be finalized this spring and summer. Additionally, we have those monthly college counseling seminars during study halls for the junior class. In these classes, we further break down the process by completing student resumes, educating them about standardized testing and transcripts, and of course, doing research on colleges to build a healthy and exciting list of potential options. So I'm very much a visual learner, and since this process can be incredibly overwhelming, I hope tonight will allow you to understand it in a different way. It's easy to look at the big picture, read the news, or listen to your friends and colleagues and think that it's just all too much. But if we break things down and look at the college admissions process piece by piece, considering the next steps and anticipating what's to come, my hope is that you'll see how magically it all just comes together. I know you're probably rolling your eyes right now and thinking I'm crazy, but that's another good reason that I can't hear you and you're on your couch in a webinar in your sweatpants. So when students are applying to a college, admission officers at selective colleges in particular are looking at more than just numbers. A holistic admissions process looks at the whole picture. The student's academic profile is showcased in the transcript, test scores, teacher recommendations, secondary school report, and counselor recommendation. The extracurricular personality of a student highlights how they are spending their time outside of the classroom. Athletics, service club, academic clubs, leadership, or a part-time job. These things will be articulated in the actual application in a student's activities listing, a resume which we help them construct in their junior year, and my recommendation letter as the college counselor. To tie all of these things together, the students will write essays and short answer questions specific to a question addressed by the college to which they are applying. We take over English classes early in the senior year to get them jazzed up about writing essays and utilizing their unique voice. And the majority of our time in the fall is spent working one-on-one with seniors as they complete applications. If you've ever been by my office in October or November, you can attest that it's a little bit crazy. Additionally, our office ensures that all recommendation letters, transcripts, and necessary school reports are sent to colleges. So, since we have work to do that simply can't be done right now, let's talk about the two things that we can work on right now as sophomores. Hopefully, students are beginning to find meaningful activities to fill their time outside of the classroom. Football, volleyball, swimming, community service, building robots, no matter what they do, they should do it because they love it and give the things they love all that they've got. There is nothing more disappointing in working with students than finding that they have been spending their precious time engaged in things that just don't matter to them. It's kind of difficult to write an exciting, heartfelt essay on something that means nothing to you. On the flip side, the students who have the best experiences in the application process are those who have things that they are excited and passionate about because their enthusiasm truly flows over into those essays. It's really, truly amazing to see. If they love being outdoors, consider joining up with a conservation group. They love building things. Perhaps Mr. Matt could use some help with his sets, or they could look into working with Habitat for Humanity. If students are interested in a cool summer program, whether it's at a college or traveling abroad, we keep information in our office and always encourage all students to peruse the summer program board that is set up outside of the upper school office in the spring semester. Additionally, students should ask their advisor or contact Mrs. Vaughn or me if they have any questions or need some ideas. If you have no idea what you love or what direction to go, U-Science is a great tool to help students discover the things they might enjoy. It gives students information on how to utilize their aptitudes in their lives through social, school, and work endeavors. And we'll dive into that next. Martin Seligman is a pioneer of positive psychology and works at the University of Pennsylvania. He says that there are three components of the study of strengths and virtues, and they are positive emotions, positive institutions, and positive individual traits. Understanding positive individual traits consists of the study of the strengths and virtues, such as the capacity for love and work, courage, compassion, resilience, creativity, curiosity, integrity, self-knowledge, moderation, self-control, and wisdom. Basically, the idea that we're working with for U-Science is that we should study what is right about people and stop focusing on the negativity and what is wrong. U-Science measures your aptitudes, what you naturally do well, and combines them with your interests, what you love to do, to give you personalized career and education recommendations so you can set a path for yourself where you'll succeed and thrive. U-Science partnered with the Ball Foundation, the premier developers of aptitude-based career products, and the nonprofit organization Human Research Organization, which assisted them in developing the career matching algorithms. The U-Science team then developed the new methods for making aptitude assessments and recommendations available online and created the U-Science profile. U-Science is free to our students, paid for through the College Counseling Office, and students will have access to this account for 10 years. I am not a fool to believe that everyone will buy in right now, but I am hopeful that at some point down the road, as students are preparing to declare a major in college and getting more serious about their future, that they will log back into their U-Science profile and peruse it. We typically have sophomore advisors dive into profiles with students during advisory time, and parents will have access to a 30-page report to study each aptitude in detail. So let's learn a little bit more with a short video. So here's an example of the exercise for the spatial visualization aptitude. This is one of the many exercises students will work through. Some of these will feel more like games than exercises. Some will be fun and some will be frustrating, and some will seem completely random. You'll wonder what they could possibly reveal about you. But believe it or not, they are measuring core and important aspects of what makes you, you. That's part of the science. Don't give it up. Don't give up. Give it your all. Some exercises will be fun and easy, and others may be difficult or even frustrating. Keep in mind that knowing what is hard for you is just as important as knowing what is easy. You will be challenged and you will get frustrated. These exercises are purposefully designed to be hard at times. Even when you are feeling really challenged, you just don't give up. That's when you're getting the best information about yourself. Good stuff happens when you're working at your limit. Stress can be okay, and that's measuring the real you. The exercises are timed and take between 5 to 12 minutes to complete. You can take breaks as often as you need to, so you can keep doing your best. Just make sure you take breaks between exercises and not in the middle of them. When you finish an exercise, take a minute to catch your breath and regain your focus before starting the next one. Take the time you need. It's okay. Make sure you do not close your browser during an active exercise. It's even okay if you need to come back and finish the next day. If you need to step away and come back to finish the exercises later, stop at the end of an exercise and log off. It is perfectly fine to log off after an assessment. Your work will not be lost. In fact, when I took the youth science assessment the summer before my first year at Augusta Prep, I actually took it over about 3 or 4 days. So each of us is made up of a unique combination of innate aptitudes. These are the aptitudes that youth science measures. Think of aptitudes as your hardwired potential. Some people call these talents or natural gifts. Aptitudes reflect how quickly and easily you can learn skills and abilities in particular areas. Aptitudes can also reflect your tendency to approach projects one way or another. When we say that aptitudes are natural abilities, we mean that you didn't practice and learn them. Anyone can improve with practice, but how quickly and easily you can improve is reflected in your aptitude level. Having a strong aptitude means it's easy and natural to learn tasks that rely on that aptitude. And once you do, you'll be able to perform them faster and more accurately. Considering it much like writing with your dominant hand. When we are using our aptitudes, like writing with your dominant hand, we are most happy and satisfied. We feel we're in the zone rather than engaged in a frustrating uphill battle. Knowing your aptitudes can answer questions like, how easily and quickly do you discern relationships between seemingly unrelated objects? How easily can you arrange information in a logical order? Do you make plans in your head, or do you need pen and paper to see things clearly? How do you translate two-dimensional pictures into 3 dimensions to conceptualize problems? In a team environment, do you best add value as a specialist with specific skills, or as a generalist who can manage the big picture? Research shows that these aptitudes form a definable pattern and are stable by the age of 15. So your aptitudes today are the aptitudes you'll have for the rest of your life. It is important to understand that aptitudes are distinct from interests, skills, and personality traits, all of which can change over time. Because of their stable nature, aptitudes serve as a reliable navigational tool throughout a lifetime of decisions. Pursuits for which we do not possess strong aptitude fit are still achievable. Nothing trumps motivation and effort. Understanding where your natural abilities lay, however, is a blueprint for maximizing your chances for satisfaction and success in many of life's endeavors. Understanding your aptitudes arms you with special knowledge to confront an ever-changing set of circumstances and challenges. It can help you identify natural fit career paths where you will excel. So students will be emailed their login information at their Augusta Prep accounts the week after Thanksgiving break. Students will have until Friday, January 12th to complete their profiles, and advisors will utilize exercises to help students dig through their results during advisory meetings. The other piece of the puzzle that is really the core of a student's foundation is their academic profile. Hopefully, sophomores are getting more comfortable with the expectation and routine of high school. The academic profile includes both the transcript, or a student's everyday academic performance, I call it their thumbprint, as well as any required standardized testing. When we think about grades, I always encourage students to consider their individual grade in a class rather than their GPA. Because we weight courses in our GPA at Augusta Prep, and it will be different from the way a college might recalculate their GPA, I encourage students to focus mainly on their individual grades. While we calculate all courses in our GPA and give weight to college prep, honors, and AP courses, most colleges will only consider a student's core classes, that's English, math, history, science, and foreign language, and give weight to AP courses only. On transcripts, we include a 100-point and 4.0 scale on the GPA, a 100-point and a 4.0 GPA on the transcript for the convenience of colleges who do not recalculate. So it can be overwhelming to look at the overall GPA and wonder who is going to see this, how and what and why. So my point really is simply focus on doing well in each class and your GPA is going to be just fine. Next year as juniors, students will have the opportunity to take a couple of more AP courses, and they should consider adding rigor in a way that is appropriate for their interests and goals. Through our school profile and school reports, colleges know that our students are not scheduled to begin AP courses until sophomore year, and they are considering our students within the context of our school. As I mentioned earlier, we're building a foundation, and that means gradually adding rigor in areas that are most appropriate for each individual as they grow as students. If a student has an interest in engineering or anything in the STEM fields, they should prepare themselves for the most rigorous science and math curriculum. If you're a lover of language and culture, consider adding another foreign language to the mix. It's all about balance, and what is best for one student is not always going to be ideal for someone else. We encourage students to talk to their advisors if they have any questions or concerns about their course plans. Next up is testing. We will guide you through every step of this process, and we will start with the PSAT 10 this spring on March 7th. When the College Board restructured the SAT, they realigned the timeline for testing as well. Offering the PSAT 10 in the spring gives students more recency when they are taking the PSAT again in the fall of their junior year. Oftentimes, students who took the PSAT in October as sophomores couldn't even remember taking it by the time their junior year fall rolled around. So we're really happy with the timeline change that College Board put forth. As juniors, they will take the PSAT that qualifies them for the National Merit Scholarship Program. That will be a Wednesday in October. And then they will begin the actual SAT and ACT in either December or March of their junior year. We will dive deeper into all of this later in the year, but I also want to mention that any students who are currently taking AP World History may consider taking the World History subject test at the end of this school year. Only the most selective colleges require SAT subject tests. Parents, we remember them as SAT 2s. But we recommend students considering highly selective schools consider this as it is an appropriate time at the end of this year with the completion of any AP coursework. I will visit the AP World History class this spring to remind them to consider this possibility. So let's go back to that earlier chart so you can see that basic timeline for next year. Now for the fun part. The PSAT 10 will take place on the morning of Wednesday, March 7th. Students will arrive to school by 7:45 so we can begin testing promptly at 8. We will hold a pre-administration session during school in the weeks leading up to the test. So parents, you don't need to worry about registering or any fees for the PSAT 10. We'll take care of all of that. So some of the benefits of the PSAT are, first and foremost, that it is pure practice for the SAT. Last year's senior class was the first to take the redesigned SAT, and the PSAT 10 and PSAT that juniors take in October are also redesigned to align with that new test. If students opt into the Student Search Service with registration, they will have increased access to colleges and scholarships, and I encourage all students to sign up for that during pre-administration. Additionally, the College Board partnered with Khan Academy with the redesign. So students now have personalized practice based on their actual test when they link their College Board accounts to Khan Academy. As you can see, the PSAT is shorter, and you can see that the max that a student can score on the PSAT is a 1520. This aligns with the max SAT score of 1600. I'll show you a visual on that in just a few minutes. The three main skills tested on the PSAT are reading, writing and language, and math. The intention of the redesigned SAT is to better assess the academic skills that students are learning through their coursework and compete with the growing popularity of the ACT, of course. The ACT, of course, has always been based on high school curriculum. With the 60-minute reading test, students will read passages and interpret informational graphics. They will use what they've read to answer questions. While they are multiple choice, some questions ask students to locate a piece of information or an idea stated directly. They'll also need to understand what the author's words imply. In other words, it will be important to read between the lines. The writing and language test is 35 minutes long and is also a multiple choice section. It will ask students to be an editor and improve passages that were written especially for the test and that include deliberate errors. Most math questions will be multiple choice, but some are called grid-ins. Grid-ins ask students to come up with the answer rather than select the answer. Some parts of the math test include several questions about a single scenario. The math test is 70 minutes and divided into two portions, math with the calculator and math with no calculator. So to briefly compare the PSAT to the real deal, you can see that it is shorter in time, it does not have an essay portion, and the sections are scored from 160 to 760 rather than 200 to 800. Because the PSAT 10 is measuring student performance where they are right now, the scaled score is a reflection of that. If a sophomore were to take the actual SAT on the same day, the linear scale pictured above articulates how the PSAT assessments reflect grade-appropriate shifts in the score scales. We'll discuss your students' individual scores with you individually, specifically during team counseling meetings when preparing for that initial testing in the second semester of junior year. So I often ask thespians if they'd go out and perform without rehearsals, or football players if they'd run a play without ever having gone to practice. It's no different. School has a purpose. Just like sport or play practice has a purpose, it's instilling confidence. It allows you to breathe a little easier on tests, whether it's a quiz on a Friday or the SAT on a cold Saturday morning. The best way to prepare for these tests, read. Whether it's the never-ending Lonesome Dove that Miss Bell has you reading, Catcher in the Rye, or your favorite magazine, students must be reading. Take appropriately challenging courses. Do your homework. Get into healthy habits. Ask and answer lots of questions. High school is truly a time to build a strong academic foundation and form habits and learn discipline that will trickle over into your adult life. So students will receive a PSAT student guide in Ms. Bell's class once we receive them a few weeks prior to the test in March. Additionally, I encourage you all to become familiar with the College Board website. Also consider utilizing Khan Academy, not only for your individual classes if you need help, they have great tutoring for every subject area, but also for the PSAT and SAT. It is a really great free resource. Students will need to open a College Board account with the same email address they use on their PSAT 10 registration this March. I will send detailed information to you about how to do that in a college counseling newsletter, but don't worry about creating that account just yet. Additionally, we will send home an information packet with details about understanding test scores, as well as the students' actual test booklets from test day. This packet is typically mailed shortly after scores are released this spring. So, while it takes a great deal of energy and thought to build a house, and the idea of how it's all going to happen is a bit too much to process right now, just take it step by step. Consider that by the end of this school year, we will have raised some really necessary strong support walls. Junior year will be all about constructing the roof and solidifying the core of this house so that during the senior year and application process, we get to paint, decorate, do some landscaping, and then put up a for sale sign. While it's all very overwhelming, rest assured that you have folks at Augusta Prep who are going to support you all the way. For now, are there any questions? I'll go through the chat and answer any as they come in. Okay, so someone asked when I will visit the AP World History class. That's typically in the spring semester. It'll probably be around February or March, maybe right as we were getting ready for the PSAT 10. Typically, if you're going to take the World History subject test, that wouldn't be until May or June. And so I'll visit later in the spring for sure. So another question is, we have heard that big colleges only look at GPA and test scores. Is this true, and can you expound upon this? That can be true. It all depends on the school. So some schools, just throwing a few out there, Alabama, Ole Miss, Auburn, they're really just looking at those numbers. So we just send transcripts to them, students send test scores, and that's why you'll hear if they're rolling admission schools, then they're just going to look at those numbers, and they have kind of minimum standards for that institution, and they'll admit students based on that. But it all depends on the college. Okay, so one question is, are there prep activities that can help kids get familiar with the PSAT 10? Is that advised? I'm assuming preparation, not Augusta Prep activities. I really encourage students to look into Khan Academy for some test prep. The PSAT 10 is purely practice. So it's really great, I think, for students to go into that test perhaps just knowing a little bit about what the test is going to entail, and then be able to practice from their actual PSAT 10 to take the PSAT in the fall of junior year. That's the one that's going to qualify them for national merit. But both PSAT 10 and the PSAT that they will take in the fall are completely practice. No colleges are going to see those. So they shouldn't feel, they're not high pressure, high stakes tests. It's pure practice. Someone else asked, when do we start using UScience? UScience, you'll receive your emailed invitation for that. Right after Thanksgiving break, we will send those out that following week, and students have until Friday, January 12th to complete their UScience profile. Someone asked, how do you find out your GPA? Ms. Ryan can give you that. However, at this point, we only calculate GPAs at the end of each school year because students are taking year-long courses. So your GPA really is just your end of freshman year grade point average, but Ms. Ryan can give you that information if you need that. Another question is there guidance or thought for students who may take a gap year, or for students who might benefit from delaying an application for AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, anything that might improve their competitiveness? I've actually had a lot of experience with gap years. At my previous school, I had a student who delayed her year, her freshman year at Princeton, to spend a year in South America in medicinal gardens, and then she spent it, a semester in Colombia and then a semester in China at a hospital. That is actually the first thing that when Princeton admits a student, the first piece of mail they'll send after that is an invitation to apply to their Bridge Year program, which is a gap year. So it kind of dispels that myth that it's for kids who, just aren't ready for college. Gap years can be incredibly beneficial, and I recommend, if that is something a student is interested in doing, that they go ahead and apply to schools, and then they will defer their admission to the school of their choice for that year, semester, whatever it may be. But there's certainly guidance and experience there for anyone who needs it. So another question is, what is the importance of AP courses? Do colleges look at the actual AP score test results? So in the application process, the only way a college is going to see AP test scores is if a student self-reports them. You can actually send them to colleges during the application process, but that's really meant to be sent only to the school to which you matriculate. So AP scores are intended to yield course credit in college. So I encourage students, especially if they do well in their AP scores, which our kids typically do, to submit their scores through their application and self-report those. Regarding the level of importance, my soapbox is you take AP courses in areas that you feel are your strongest and your areas of interest. Schools want to see that students are challenging themselves within the context of the curriculum available to them. So it's all relative to the student. But if you're interested in a selective engineering school, a Georgia Tech, you do need to be progressed through an AP calculus class by the time you're applying, or a high level, maybe AP physics, that sort of thing. So another question was about high-level liberal arts schools like Williams, Middlebury, Amherst, Bowdoin, visiting prep. Are these schools looking at Augusta Prep, and are we marketing to them? I actually just went on a college tour of Bowdoin, Bates, and Colby. And so those schools are not going to spend a whole lot of money to travel to our area. They are often visiting high-impact areas like Atlanta and Raleigh and that sort of thing. I have tried my best to get schools here like Duke and Johns Hopkins, but they're certainly looking at us, and part of my role is to network with those schools so that they know who we are as well. How many AP exams are ideal to take, and how many subject tests? So AP exams, that's really relative to the student. We do require all students to take AP exams at the end of the coursework. That actually validates to a college how rigorous our curriculum is. And when they can see that all of our kids are taking it and they're doing as well as they do, that means a great deal. As for subject tests, depends on the college. Most will require 2. Students can take up to 3 subject tests in one sitting. So they're offered every time the SAT is offered. And typically what you'll see is with engineering schools, I'll use Duke as an example, Duke requires that students take 2 subject tests, particularly if you're interested in engineering and applying to their engineering school. One has to be in math. I recommend math level 2, and then they can take the second one in another area. I tell the kids it's kind of like accessorizing an outfit. You're really showing a college where your strengths are and where your interests lie. But if students are interested in anything STEM related, I really strongly recommend math level 2 and a science. Any other questions? Okay, I will wrap it up. I thank everyone for joining in. There were 24 of you, I think 39 registered, which is our largest crowd. So go class of 2020. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to email me anytime. As soon as I don't have a senior in my office having any kind of panic attack, I will certainly be with you. But just know I'm here for you if you need anything, and I really appreciate you joining in tonight. Thanks so much. Have a good night.